I would love a chipmunk nipple, and I can't find any.
A group of baby rabbits survive a shocking attack.
Rabbits tend to have their nest in dog yards. The bigger the dog, the more she likes it.
A snapping turtle with a cracked shell begins laying eggs.
It would be nice if she can get back out and dig a hole and lay them where she's supposed to.
And an orphaned baby swan seems excited to meet his new family. But are they happy to meet him?
We're hopeful that'll work, but I really don't think it's going to work.
It's known as the city within a park. The Greater Toronto Area is home to one of the most diverse urban wildlife populations in North America. Here, more than 6 million busy humans live alongside 350 different species of wild animals. When wildlife clashes with urban life, it's usually the animals who lose. That's when Toronto Wildlife Centre steps in, saving animals one day at a time. Toronto is home to more than 50,000 registered dogs. It's estimated that only a third of dog owners actually register their pets, which means there may be almost 200,000 dogs in this city. It's not safe being a rabbit with that many dogs. Julia Pytrius is the manager of the hotline station at Toronto Wildlife Centre. She was on duty when a group of baby rabbits were first brought in.
We just admitted 5 little baby rabbits. They were found a couple of nights ago. A dog had dug up their nest. And as happens a lot with rabbits, the people assumed that they were orphans because they didn't see a mom anywhere. But cottontail rabbits don't spend a lot of time caring for their babies. They will feed them a couple of times at night, and then they cover them back up in their nest and leave them alone. What we'll usually tell people to do is put them back in the nest, cover it up as best you can, make it look like it did before you found it. Take a few pieces of string, we call it the string test, lay them over the nest in a lattice pattern, and then leave it overnight. Because mom's not going to come feed her babies while you're watching, but if she comes in the middle of the night and pushes the nesting material over and feeds them and covers them back up again, you'll be able to tell in the morning whether she's been back. And I mean, this is the case for any wild animal. Their wild mother can take much better care of them than we possibly can. We're good at what we do, but we're not as good as mom.
Now, without a mom, Lisa Fosco is all they have. As the head of Toronto Wildlife Centre's rehabilitation team, Lisa is determined to save these adorable babies.
Okay. So this morning we're working in the nursery, and basically what we're doing is just getting these babies ready to be fed. These are some very young rabbits that I'm going to be working with. So all we've done this morning so far is we have, you can see they're kind of jumpy. We have stimulated them, so we've emptied their bladders so that we can get body weights on them. And rabbits have such large bladders that if we don't empty their bladders, we can't get accurate body weights. And then we feed them only about twice a day. This particular nest was mauled by a dog, and then the people brought these guys home and fed them milk that they read off the internet for 48 hours, so they're in pretty bad shape.
For 2 days, these bunnies were fed baby formula. It's designed for humans, not rabbits.
People try very hard to do well by these animals, and they find them and they want to do a good job with them. But unfortunately, the information that they find in the pet stores and vet hospitals and on the internet is usually coming from an unlicensed source, because as licensed rehabilitators, we're not allowed to share this information. So a lot of very well-intentioned people give the wrong formula to these animals, and when it comes to rabbits, it can very, very, very often be lethal. So we've been flushing the formula out of their system yesterday. This is half formula and half electrolytes. And so today they'll get their formula, just because we needed to get all that garbage out of them.
With the flushing done, it's time to eat. Using a little yogurt on the end of the rubber tube makes it easier and tastier for the baby rabbit to swallow.
Okay, so we actually tube feed these guys when they're uninjured. Okay. These guys are probably about 8-9 days old. They're about ready to open their eyes in another day or two. Basically what we do is we take the components in the natural mother's milk and then we replicate it. Oh, you learn. You learn to do everything that you can to make it easy and successful for them. I would love a chipmunk nipple, and I can't find any.
For most of the bunnies, the baby formula was the worst of their troubles. But one little guy was seriously mauled by the dog.
He's got a throat injury, and I don't want to stick a tube down his throat. We saw it on his physical, and he's sore. So I just actually gave him his pain meds. He's getting pain meds. Okay, that's too hard for him. Okay, we're gonna wait till the pain meds kick in.
Feeding is still too painful for this little guy. Lunch will have to wait until the pain medication starts to work.
So we've got a displaced or orphaned cygnet.
Andrew White and Sarah Castillo have arrived at a small waterway along Lake Ontario.
We can't track its family down for the life of us. We've been everywhere we think it possibly could.
The team thinks this baby is in their care as a result of what they call an animal kidnapping. It's when a person decides to take home a cute but wild baby animal. And like in this case, it usually ends up with the baby being abandoned. Now it's up to the rescue team to find him a new family.
So we got word just down the road, which is where we are now, that there's a family of swans with 7 babies, and they're quite used to being around humans. So our hope is, them being more of a relaxed swan family, we might be able to come in here and offer them our baby. And because they're so used to people being around in this place, we're hopeful that'll work. But I really don't think it's gonna work. I've tried it in the past, not this specific scenario, but I've tried putting them in with other families and it doesn't work. Canada geese work great doing this, but this is kind of uncharted territory.
We obviously want the cygnet, the baby swan, to integrate into the family well, so we're worried about things like the parents picking on the cygnet, the other siblings picking on the cygnet swimming away from the family, and in those kind of cases we need to intervene. We might end up in the water swimming after it.
We've already emptied out our pockets, so we don't have any electronics in them, and our wallets are safe in the van. So we're probably going in after that little guy if we see any sign of him being endangered, because our biggest concern would be drowning. I don't think the parent would necessarily intentionally drown him, but the picking on can be violent enough that a bad scenario could get really bad. So we're going to be in there and getting him out of that situation as quick as we can.
They aren't hopeful, but they have to try. It may be this cygnet's only chance to live a life in the wild.
So I saw the family. It's just around the side here. Let me go around the corner. I'll throw a little bit of corn to draw them and pull them into this big open area, and then let's try to draw them right up onto the beach.
Okay.
And then that way we'll see how the connection is before we let them go in the water. But I think we'll know how attached to this baby they're going to be pretty quickly.
Awesome. Okay.
So you just wait here and
we'll
I'll step back.
Andrew runs into the bush. From there, he plans to lure the swans to the open by throwing some corn.
We never recommend feeding wildlife, but in this case, we know these birds are used to being fed. Here they come. Okay, Sarah, they're coming around the corner.
I can see all the ducks.
I swear they're there. It's not just ducks.
So far, the swans are following Andrew's lead, but introducing a cygnet to an unknown family hasn't worked in the past. Andrew and Sarah can only hope that this time it works. It's this little guy's best bet for survival. This turtle arrived at Toronto Wildlife Centre a few weeks ago in bad shape. She had been run over by a car and her shell was cracked. An X-ray also revealed the turtle is pregnant.
All right, so it is a girl. She's full of eggs. Wow. We're gonna have to count these. You can actually see the shape of the eggs, and snapping turtle eggs are almost perfectly round.
The shell is repaired, and she's laying her eggs in a tub full of soft dirt, sand, and water.
Okay, so Beth is gonna we're gonna take a look at these eggs from this turtle. This turtle had how many eggs, Beth?
So she had 47 eggs total. It looks like she's laid 12 here, and we have one more in another bin, so 13 have been laid so far. And we have a lovely chart here just to keep track of what days they are being laid and how long they're in the water before they're found, if we can determine that, which seems to have a bit of a correlation between whether they will hatch or not. So I find the ones that are in the water for, you know, the whole night, if she lays them at night and then we find them in the morning, tend not to hatch as readily as the ones that, you know, are laying and we find them an hour later.
Do you feel pretty confident that these eggs have a good chance of hatching?
I hope so. I mean, a number of them look really good, especially these top 4 here. It's always hard to tell. We'll keep them right through until the proper time of hatching, just to make sure that we don't miss any, but hopefully we'll get at least a good number of hers to hatch.
And now hopefully she'll be able to lay all the other eggs back in her home territory where they're supposed to be in the first place.
Which will give them the best chance, really. I mean, if she continues to lay them in the water, it does affect them. So it would be nice if she can get back out and dig a hole and lay them where she's supposed to.
A special stabilizing clamp has been glued onto this turtle's shell so that it can heal faster. Now, Lisa is hoping Toronto Wildlife Centre's vet, Diana, will give this turtle the all clear for release. But first, they have to make sure the shell is strong enough to withstand life in the wild.
So we're just gonna feel and see how stable it is. And it looks fairly stable.
Close.
So what we're going to do is pull off these clips, and then we'll probably give it a little bit more time to see how stable it gets.
You know, we can release her without this 100% stable if the infection's under control, because she doesn't have any major predators.
Yep.
If this were a painted turtle or a small turtle that a raccoon or a dog could get a hold of, we would want to make sure that that's completely solidified. But being a snapping turtle, I think, especially considering that she's laying eggs right now, we have to fast track her.
With the blessing of the vet, the clamps are removed. In a few days, she'll be released to a place where she'll safely be able to lay her eggs. In less than 2 weeks, these eggs will start hatching. Mother Nature is hard on baby turtles, and the team here wants to give them a better chance at survival. So the plan is to care for the hatchlings well after they hatch. In time, they too will return to the urban wild. At a local pond, the release team is about to introduce a young cygnet to a new swan family.
I'm just trying to lure the mute swan family around this corner into this big open space. I'm using corn, which is not an unhealthy thing to be feeding waterfowl. We don't recommend feeding wildlife ever, but in this case we know that these birds are used to being fed, here they come, by humans, and they're quite tame, which might be the reason why this works, just because they're kind of a casual family. Whereas a wild family that you'd find, you know, in the middle of the lake could very well be very suspicious of what we're trying to do today. So I'm just gonna bring them up the beach a little bit. I think maybe pull them out.
Yeah?
So let's just let them come a little bit closer.
Yep.
Hold them out like we do goslings. There's the reaction we wanted. Okay, go up like a gosling and see how they react. Don't put them down until you see a good reaction from that adult. I want to see aggression, upset that she has one of my babies. Put him down. Let's put him down.
The swan flares its back feathers. It's a sign of aggression.
Good aggressive posturing.
Aggressive posturing, but is that to us or is that to someone that he doesn't recognize? We're just gonna have to wait this out for the next little while. I'm gonna take my shoes off just in case we have to run in and get them. If the parents decided to reject them, they could possibly start picking on them. The flaring is just an aggressive posture. They know something strange has just happened. Was it mad at Sarah because she just brought one in? Is it mad at this little one? We don't know. This is why we just want to see this play out. But to tell you the truth, I can't even tell which is ours right now. Oh yeah, there he is, the littler one. Yeah, so this is the thing. Our guy starts to do strange things. Parents pick up on that and they don't like it. But he's just trying to get down to the food that his new brothers and sisters can easily reach with their longer necks because they're a day or two older. So I think he's just watching what they're doing and trying to imitate as best he can.
But Andrew and Sarah don't have any plans of walking away before they know that this little guy has been fully accepted.
We're going nowhere anytime soon.
Back at the nursery, Lisa is treating the group of baby bunnies.
We use really little needles. We draw the fluids in with the bigger needles, but we use very small needles with our very small animals, and we have a list of the sizes that are acceptable for the size of animal. And they don't mind the stick. They don't mind the actual needle hit if you do it well, but they do mind the fluid. They don't really like it. Fortunately, it helps them a lot. Rabbits are generally in captivity until they're about 26 days of age, 26 to 30 days of age. They're on their own at 26. Basically what they'll do is the mom will keep coming back and feeding them until they're 21 days old, and then she won't. And they will still come out of the nest at night and eat, and then come back during the day to sleep because they're a nocturnal animal.
While most people enjoy the sight of a rabbit in their yard, the family dog may not be quite as hospitable.
Rabbits tend to have their nest in dog yards. The bigger the dog, the more she likes it. And the reason for that is because the larger your dog, the more likely she doesn't have any natural predators in that yard. So if you have 3 Rottweilers, there's going to be less of a chance that there's going to be foxes and coyotes and raccoons and everything else that the mother's actually tuned into. So you'll find that rabbits will actually show preference to yards with big dogs. That doesn't really work to their benefit all the time, but baby rabbits have no scent. So the dogs don't have any real way to find them unless they're moving.
In this case, a big dog did notice the bunnies, and one of them has been injured.
He's got a couple tooth holes, and then he's also got a broken toe. So that's very sore.
Lisa has given him some pain medication. She's hoping the meds have kicked in and she can continue his treatment and feeding.
Really, he's getting light pain meds, very light pain meds, like ibuprofen, basically. And we're actually just keeping this wound clean. It doesn't appear to be infected. If it does start to look infected, we would give him antibiotics.
Lisa is taking another stab at feeding this bunny now that the pain meds have kicked in and his throat is less sore. This time, he takes the tube without any resistance.
And so we're just cleaning up his wounds. I worry more after we get them initially cleaned up just because we're handling them and our hands, even though we're wearing gloves, our hands just, we want to keep these wounds clean. So after they're handled, then I'll generally clean them again. But this should all heal up just fine. He should be fine. Okay, he's all set. Okay.
If all goes well, these bunnies will be released in 23 days.
Oh, our little guy's keeping up pretty well. Yeah.
Okay, look at Mom. Look at Mom.
Yeah.
Staring
she's
at our guy.
still
She
not
knows
sure.
something's up,
Yeah.
but she's okay with it.
The rescue team is at a pond where they're introducing a young cygnet to a new swan family. While Father Swan seems to have accepted the new cygnet, the team is not so sure about the mother. A local resident has arrived with food for the swans. While bread is the equivalent of junk food for swans, it's keeping the family close to shore, and the team is able to watch the family interact with their newest addition.
We don't want to leave yet. We want to stay here and see this through.
If something goes wrong, she could peck at him, or worse, drown him.
Time will only tell if this is going to work or not. So far, I couldn't be any happier. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I think this has gone perfect. Exactly what I would hope for, not what I expected.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would
Work.
work, truthfully. But if you notice, Mom hasn't eaten anything since this whole ordeal started.
She had a little bit
Did
of
she?
bread.
I think she knows something's up, even with Sarah and I here in our uniforms and, you know, people watching. It's not normal. We're not playing volleyball, we're staring at them. It's just a different scenario than they're used to.
Mom is starting to eat.
Oh, good. Things are feeling better for Mama. It's really hard to beat a baby bird, though. It's really unbelievable. All babies are so cute.
I know. What's up, Mom?
So we're gonna go to have a bagel and then come back. Because then that will give some time without us here. If we come back in the 7.
Mom's good. You see her?
Right now, things seem to be going well, so Sarah and Andrew decide to leave the family alone for a little while to let things progress naturally. But releasing a cygnet to an established family of swans is tricky business, and the team is concerned. They don't want to leave this little swan unsupervised for too long.
If the parents decided to reject them, they could possibly start picking on them.
The team is back at the pond. The idea was to give this family of swans some non-human time in the hope that their newest member would be made to feel at home. While the mom hasn't attacked the baby, she also doesn't seem very welcoming. Andrew and Sarah are not sure whether he's been pecked while they were away. They want to make sure he's okay. Standing by with the net, they're ready to scoop the little cygnet out of the group. Once again, they lure the family closer to shore so that Sarah can get a better look at the new cygnet.
I think you have to go.
While Andrew distracts Mom, Sarah catches the little cygnet for a final check.
Daddy wants him. He's sweat. He's wet? Yeah.
And that's from her being mean to him?
Well, it is from her being mean to him, but he's just wet.
Bleeding?
No blood. Let's put him back. Yeah, put him back.
I know, Daddy.
That's what we want.
The father is showing signs of aggression, and Andrew hopes it's because he's trying to protect the new baby.
The one who keeps flopping around is ours. He's been in care so long. He eats to preen everything, get himself clean. I'm happy right now.
It seems to be another happy ending for this release team. Over the next week or so, Andrew and Sarah will come back to check on the little cygnet and make sure that he's been welcomed into the fold. But the next day, when Sarah and Andrew return to the pond, it becomes quickly apparent the cygnet has been pecked.
So when we came back, we saw what looked like injuries to us on the cygnet. We pulled him out of the water to check. We tried to put him back with the family, and we just kept watching. And as we were watching, we noticed the mother was being quite aggressive towards the little cygnet. She obviously has decided that she will not accept him into the family. So unfortunately, we had to go and scoop him out. And then we were unable to keep him with that family. We found an alternative placement for him on a farm. The last update we got is that he's doing great, and hopefully we'll continue to get updates about him, and hopefully he can be a swan.
This young bunny had recently suffered a nasty dog attack. 21 days of medical care and careful monitoring have now paid off, and he's ready for release. Brought in at just 6 days old, this little guy has never foraged for himself. And so, just in case it takes him a little while to find food in the wild, the rehabilitation team makes sure he's offered a full meal before he goes out on his own. Sarah Castillo is taking this rabbit back to where it was found. She's looking for a safe spot near his original home, but far from the threat of any nearby dogs. He's now bigger than when he first came in, but even at this stage, he's vulnerable.
Bunnies, being a prey species, once they're in the wild, they need to figure it out. They need to figure out how to hide from the predators. They need to figure out how to find a mate. That is up to them. We can't do that for them. I am a trained biologist, so as a biologist, I get it. I get that natural selection needs to happen. Everyone needs to eat. Even if something we are taking care of, and obviously we care so very much for, ends up being eaten, it's still the cycle of life.
So, to give him a fighting chance, Sarah is releasing him as deep in the brush as she can.
So we like to release these guys right into the thicket, because when they're in this not so thick, tall grass, again, they just freeze. They won't move. So by putting them right in, he might take straight off. It's that comfort level again. He feels like he's hidden enough.
With the proper location established, Sarah is ready to release the bunny.
This is pretty stressful for them, obviously.
He seems frozen, and Sarah doesn't like how exposed he is.
I would like him further in the forest right now, so I'm just going to move him. Beautiful. He's very well hidden. His camouflage, his coloring is great for this grass. He feels comfortable enough to stay right there. I feel like that's a great release. They don't always go that way, so I'm happy.